I'm a person that always looks at the big picture. I know some people just live from day to day, but I've always been one to look forward. And that's kind of like the Boy Scout motto, be prepared, right? I remember my first hike with the Boy Scouts, and this was in 1949 when I joined the Scouts. Took a camera along, and I'm glad I did, because otherwise you don't remember these things if you don't have the pictures, you know, especially after 75, 76 years. You know, back then all you had was a map. You didn't have the GPS as you have today to help you get around.
I guess we were in Boy Scouts together. We've been on all the major peaks and all the trails in the Bitterroot. We both grew up in the Bitterroot. I don't think he ever grew up, but I did.
He was in the Scouts when I joined, and we've been hiking together ever since. And I can call him up and say, hey, I got another hike here. It's a little bit crazy, but how would you like to go on it? And he'll say, what time are we leaving? That's his answer every time.
Where we went didn't matter much, but it sure does now.
You want to sit down and rest?
No. I think I've been on my last hike today.
It's just special that we've been able to do 76 years of hiking together. You know, that's not many people can say that. During college years, we were both smoke jumpers. That was kind of a natural transition from the hiking, because that's what jumping was all about, was getting into the high country, you know. But you didn't have to carry a heavy pack up into the mountains there. You could just jump in, and maybe you'd have to carry the pack out, all your gear out afterwards, but that was all right. It was just a great job, and we all loved the job.
The smoke jumping years really what kind of bonded us together. It's probably the best job either one of us ever had. He's a retired airline pilot, and I'm a retired optometrist, but as far as having fun, smoke jumping was number one.
We all loved the job, and I even thought of making a career out of it, but at that time you couldn't jump past the age of 40. They had a restriction there, so you knew you had to start over with a new career sometime. And so I worked on a master's for a few years, completed all the classwork, but I just hadn't done anything on the thesis. Then I entered the service, wanted to get in flying, and I finally got into the flying program. And after I got out of flight school, I came back to Missoula, and the airlines were hiring. They came through, and I went to work with a major airline at that time, and worked for 31 years with United Airlines.
The first time he took me up in an airplane, he could look down and he could say, well, that's such and such a canyon, and that's, to me, I always had to go by the roads, and it was such a different experience to hear somebody explain it from the air. Just special. And I think everybody that meets him knows that.
We dated for, I think, about 3/4 a year, and then we got married. And we've been married almost 50 years now. He
can remember after 50 years where you turn on such and such a road to get to such and such a hike. He just has a memory of all the hikes he's been on. And I do think that was the influence that began with the Scouts.
Right after computers came out, I got into putting together this database. I started for my own reasons. I wanted to have a list, because I couldn't remember all the fires I'd been on. They sometimes flow together, you know. And so I put together my own records, and then other people would say, hey, how about, can you do that for me? And so I said, yeah, I can do that for you. So I just kept going, and now I send out those records to anybody who wants them. And I give them all the fires they were on. I can provide them with all the other jumpers that were on the fires with them, what airplane they jumped out of, the forest name, the fire name. There's, I think, about 65,000 lines of database. It's meaningful that I was able to contribute to preserving some of that history. The School of Forestry called me up here just before graduation and said that they were going to give me my master's degree. And it knocked me over. I couldn't believe it.
He was a little embarrassed at first because he didn't feel like he actually defended it. And he said 20 years of work is defending.
So it was a labor of love. I enjoyed the history of it all, and getting in and learning more about the country that I've hiked in and knowing over my years. I've given everything to anybody that wants to have it, all the information, because I want to make sure it's preserved someplace, because it's the most accurate records out there, I think. And I'm still getting requests for people that I haven't sent them out to before. Life is changing so much. I know if somebody would ask me back when I was a Boy Scout what life would be like 75 years later, probably the best example I would have relied on was the Dick Tracy watch. In the 50s, it was a two-way radio watch that he could talk back and forth to people. Well, that doesn't even come close to what we have today, you know. And the rate of change is just increasing exponentially now, you know, with AI coming on, with quantum computing coming on. Things are nobody can predict what things are going to be like in the future. And like the motto says, you got to be prepared. Right now, we still hike 40 days a year. It's a group of guys that started out as smoke jumpers, but now it's all types of people. And we just get together every Monday and go for a hike.
He's older than most of us, and he's still the fastest walker in the group. He's fastest of all going downhill.
He's got long legs and he's got a long stride. So he goes and goes and goes.
That's pretty good.
You know, I always feel like I'm a very average person, but I want to be known as an honest, good person. Tried to help others. Smile and remember, keep smiling. It really did change my life a lot by being a scout. Okay. It carried through my whole life, and I'm grateful for it.
One more? One more.